Marcus Pierce, a 50-year-old successful business owner with a reputation for quiet resolve, had spent decades building a legacy. Once an innovative architect whose designs graced city skylines, he had reinvented himself as the CEO of a thriving construction firm in the suburban town of Willow Creek. In his elegant, modern home, Marcus shared his life with his wife, Vivian Pierce, a 46-year-old creative director known for her radiant smile and keen artistic eye, and their 20-year-old daughter, Serena, a bright college student exploring her passions. For 25 years, the Pierce household had been a bastion of loyalty and shared dreams. Sunday brunches, evening walks, and long conversations on the sunlit porch wove a tapestry of memories that Marcus believed could withstand any storm. Yet lately, subtle cracks had begun to appear. Vivian's once constant warmth had dimmed, hushed phone calls, brief absences from family dinners, and furtive glances toward the window hinted at secrets unspoken. Marcus, ever the pragmatic man, initially reassured himself that even the strongest foundations might show signs of stress before a necessary renewal. But as the days wore on, a creeping unease settled into his bones, a feeling that the life he had built was beginning to unravel. On a crisp Friday night, Vivian announced that her agency was hosting a celebration for a major new campaign. Despite Marcus's initial reluctance, he rarely enjoyed such crowded gatherings. He agreed to accompany her, eager to support her and to catch a glimpse of the vibrant world she inhabited at work. That evening, dressed in a tailored suit and with an air of reserved confidence, Marcus arrived at the upscale venue. The ambient lighting and gentle hum of conversation did little to ease the tension in his chest. As he scanned the room, his eyes fell upon Vivian. She was dazzling in a form-fitting midnight blue dress that accentuated her graceful figure and the soft golden hue of her hair. Yet even as she greeted colleagues with a smile, Marcus noticed subtle signs that something was amiss. At one point, Vivian's gaze lingered too long on a man standing near the bar, a suave, self-assured individual with a confident smirk. The man, later identified as Carter Rhodes, was a senior account executive at her firm. When Vivian briefly extended a hand in greeting to Carter before quickly turning back to Marcus with a reassuring kiss on his cheek, Marcus felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The warmth he'd known for so long was replaced by a chill of suspicion. Throughout the evening, as the drinks flowed and the music played softly, Marcus found himself increasingly alert to every glance, every whispered word. Though he tried to dismiss his doubts as mere overthinking, the sight of Vivian sharing brief moments of laughter with Carter, her eyes softening when she looked his way, haunted him. That night, as he drove home in the cool silence after the party, the weight of unanswered questions pressed heavily on his mind. In the days that followed, Marcus's apprehension grew. His once unwavering trust began to fracture under the pressure of uncertainty. Determined to know the truth, he took a painful step. He hired a discreet private investigator. Over the course of several tense weeks, Marcus watched as a dossier of evidence slowly accumulated, a series of emails, late-night phone records, and even photographs capturing moments when Vivian appeared far too friendly with Carter. Each new piece of evidence felt like a chisel against the sturdy wall of his marriage, and Marcus found himself struggling between disbelief and a burning need for clarity. At home, conversations between Marcus and Vivian became charged with unspoken tension. Vivian insisted that nothing was wrong, that Carter was simply a colleague and friend. But as Marcus confronted her gently about the inconsistencies he'd noticed, her responses became guarded, her eyes flickering with emotions she refused to name. Serena, perceptive and quietly observant, began to sense that the foundation of her family was shifting. In hushed moments, she would catch her parents' sidelong glances and the tense pauses that filled their once light-hearted dinners. For Marcus, each day felt like a slow descent into an abyss of betrayal, a betrayal that threatened not only his pride but the very legacy he had built over decades. The evidence piled up like fragments of a shattered mirror, reflecting a reality that Marcus could no longer ignore. Late one autumn evening, as a chill wind swept through Willow Creek, Marcus decided that silence was no longer an option. With trembling resolve, he sat Vivian down in the quiet of their study, a room lined with mementos of shared triumphs and tender moments. His voice, though steady, betrayed the deep hurt that had taken root in his heart. "Vivian," he began, his gaze fixed on the photograph of them taken on their wedding day, "I need you to be honest with me. I've seen things I can't explain, texts, emails, photos. What is really happening between you and Carter?" For a long moment, the room was silent. Vivian's eyes widened as if caught off guard, and then a storm of conflicting emotions passed over her face, regret, defiance, and sorrow. With measured words that felt like brittle glass, she admitted, "Marcus, I have been drawn to Carter. It started innocently enough, but somewhere along the line, our friendship deepened. I never meant to hurt you, but I can't pretend everything is as it should be." Her voice wavered, and Marcus could see tears glistening at the corners of her eyes. "Are you saying our marriage, that everything we built means nothing?" Marcus asked, his tone both anguished and resolute. Vivian's answer was a quiet confession, "I don't know what it means anymore, Marcus. I'm so sorry, but I feel lost." The word struck him like a physical blow, shattering the image of the life they had shared. In that moment, the study, once a sanctuary of love, became a battleground where trust was splintered and futures were cast into uncertainty. The confrontation left both Marcus and Vivian reeling. In the days that followed, the Pierce home was enveloped in an oppressive silence, punctuated by bitter glances and long, sleepless nights. Marcus's heart was heavy with betrayal, and his mind raced with the implications of Vivian's confession. Yet, even as pain tore through him, Marcus realized that he could no longer continue in a life built on half-truths. One stormy night, as rain hammered the windows and the wind howled through the eaves, Vivian approached Marcus with a trembling resolve. "Marcus, I have made my decision," she said softly. "I want to try and work through this, but on my terms. I cannot promise that I will stop seeing Carter. If you can't accept this new reality, then perhaps it is time we part ways." Her words were delivered not with malice but with a sorrowful inevitability. Marcus felt as if the very ground beneath him had given way. The thought of a future without the woman he had loved for so many years was unbearable, yet the alternative, a life where deceit continued to erode every promise, was equally unthinkable. In a moment of anguished clarity, Marcus declared, "I cannot live in a shadow of betrayal. I want honesty, respect, and fidelity. If you cannot give me that, then I must reclaim my life." And so, with hearts heavy and futures uncertain, the final decision was set into motion. The seeds of separation had been sown, and both Marcus and Vivian knew that the path ahead would be fraught with legal battles, painful truths, and the irrevocable end of a once-cherished union. As the divorce proceedings began, the atmosphere in the Pierce household turned bitter and chaotic. Marcus found himself surrounded by the remnants of shattered trust, a collection of photographs, tear-stained letters, and incriminating messages that bore witness to the unraveling of his marriage. In an effort to protect his dignity and secure a future free from the sting of betrayal, he enlisted the help of both legal counsel and a trusted financial advisor. At the same time, Vivian, overwhelmed by guilt and defiance in equal measure, sought refuge in a world of escapism. Late-night calls to old friends, impulsive shopping sprees, and even secret meetings with Carter became her attempts to escape the pain of her choices. Yet, every moment of temporary distraction only deepened the chasm between her and the life she once knew. Serena, caught in the crossfire of her parents' disintegration, became increasingly isolated, her once bright spirit clouded by the turmoil that enveloped her family. Marcus, though determined to maintain control, began to feel the weight of public scrutiny. The community of Willow Creek, once proud of the Pierce legacy, now whispered in hushed tones about the scandal that had shattered the family's reputation. Friends and colleagues offered condolences laced with judgment, and every headline in the local paper seemed to echo the pain of betrayal. In the midst of this chaos, Marcus struggled to balance his roles as a father, a business leader, and a wounded husband. His once orderly life now spiraled into a maelstrom of legal battles, financial uncertainty, and emotional torment. With the divorce nearing its climax, Marcus realized that the only path to true healing was to confront not only Vivian but also the network of deceit that had entangled their lives. In a moment of resolute clarity, he arranged a final meeting with Vivian, a private, tense confrontation in the quiet conference room of his office. There, surrounded by the symbols of his hard-won success, Marcus laid bare the evidence he had gathered, the messages, the photos, and the records of financial transactions that bore the unmistakable mark of betrayal. "Vivian," he said, his voice steady but laced with profound sorrow, "everything I have here tells me that our marriage was built on promises that were broken. I need to understand why you chose a path of deception when we vowed to honor each other." Vivian's eyes filled with tears, but her response was measured. "Marcus, I made mistakes that I regret every day. I never meant to hurt you, but I lost myself along the way. I thought that by embracing something different, I could fill a void I felt inside. I see now that I have hurt you beyond repair." The conversation that followed was raw and unfiltered, a painful excavation of long-buried emotions and regrets. Marcus admitted that his own pride and anger had clouded his judgment at times, and Vivian confessed that her actions were driven by a deep-seated loneliness and a desperate search for validation. Though neither word could undo the damage, that confrontation became a turning point. In acknowledging the truth, both Marcus and Vivian began to see that their lives, though forever changed, might still have a chance at redemption, even if that redemption meant walking separate paths. In the wake of their final confrontation, Marcus resolved to reclaim his future. With the legal settlement looming and the painful process of disentangling years of shared finances and memories underway, he focused on safeguarding his assets and ensuring a stable life for Serena. Yet, beneath the veneer of pragmatic resolve, a darker impulse took root, a desire for retribution against the betrayal that had shattered his trust. Late at night, as he pored over documents in his study, Marcus's thoughts turned to Carter, the man who had played a pivotal role in Vivian's infidelity. In private moments, Marcus contemplated a course of action that would not only secure his financial future but also send a clear message: betrayal would not go unpunished. He began to devise a plan to leverage every legal and financial tool at his disposal, restructuring investments, revising contracts, and even orchestrating strategic business moves that would ultimately diminish Carter's influence and, by extension, Vivian's leverage in the divorce settlement. Every calculated step felt like reclaiming a piece of the dignity that had been ripped from him. However, as Marcus inched closer to executing his plans, the moral cost of vengeance weighed heavily on him. Late one night, after a particularly tense day of negotiations with lawyers and financial advisors, he stared at his reflection in the mirror and wondered whether he was losing himself in the quest for retribution. "Am I becoming the very man I once despised?" he thought, the question echoing in the silent darkness of his study. The internal struggle was fierce, the desire to protect his legacy warred with the need to remain true to the man he had been. And though his plan promised to level the playing field, it risked tainting his soul with bitterness. As the divorce settlement reached its final stages, unforeseen twists emerged that would upend both Marcus and Vivian's carefully laid plans. At a critical hearing, documents surfaced that revealed hidden financial transactions linking Vivian to a series of offshore accounts that suggested a far more complex web of deception than either party had anticipated. The revelation not only shocked the courtroom but also cast doubt on the integrity of Vivian's entire narrative. Suddenly, the tables began to turn. What had once appeared as a simple betrayal now unfolded as a labyrinth of secrets, manipulated records, and questionable alliances. Marcus's legal team, bolstered by the new evidence, pressed for a revision of the settlement. Meanwhile, Vivian found herself facing mounting pressure from both the courts and her own inner demons. The community's perception shifted once again, and the reputation of the Pierce family, once held as a beacon of success, now hung in the balance. In a dramatic twist, a key witness emerged from the shadows, an accountant who had managed Vivian's finances for years. Under oath, he revealed discrepancies that pointed not only to Vivian's misconduct but also to the possibility that she had been manipulated by external forces within her agency. the courtroom became a battleground of revelations and counterclaims. Marcus, though driven by a desire for justice, felt a pang of empathy amid the chaos. He recognized that Vivian's actions, however destructive, were part of a larger, more intricate puzzle, one in which both their lives had been caught. For a brief moment, the enmity between them softened, replaced by a mutual, if painful, understanding that sometimes the forces that tear us apart are as complex as the human heart itself. In the final chapters of the bitter saga, the court delivered its long-awaited verdict. The divorce was finalized with a settlement that reflected not only the financial realities but also the emotional toll of the years lost. Marcus secured the majority of his hard-won assets, ensuring that his future, and that of Serena, was protected. Vivian, faced with the unraveling of her carefully constructed facade, was forced to confront the consequences of her choices. The settlement, though harsh, allowed both parties to walk away with a semblance of dignity. In the weeks that followed, Marcus embarked on a journey of renewal. He immersed himself in his work, channeling the pain of betrayal into creative energy that sparked new projects and invigorated his company. Serena, ever resilient, found solace in her studies and the promise of a future unburdened by her parents' mistakes. For Marcus, the experience became a crucible through which he discovered the strength to redefine his identity. No longer would he be defined solely by the betrayal of the past, he would build a future rooted in integrity, compassion, and hard-won wisdom. Vivian, too, began a slow process of introspection and transformation. Isolated from the world she once knew, she sought therapy, reconnected with old friends, and gradually learned to forgive herself for the mistakes that had cost her dearly. Though the road to redemption was long and fraught with regret, she vowed to rebuild her life, this time, with honesty as its cornerstone. In a final act of closure, Marcus and Vivian met one last time in the quiet of a small cafe on the outskirts of Willow Creek. There were no grand declarations or bitter recriminations, only a shared understanding that their lives, though forever changed, could still move forward. "We cannot undo the past," Marcus said softly, "but we can choose what we become in its wake." Vivian nodded, tears glistening in her eyes as she replied, "I hope that someday, we both find the peace we lost." Shattered Vows, the echoes of betrayal, stands as a testament to the fragility of trust and the resilience of the human spirit. Marcus Pierce, scarred by years of deception and heartache, emerged from the darkness with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to forge a future built on honesty and strength. Though the scars of betrayal remained, they served as a reminder that even in the face of profound loss, one can rebuild and find new meaning. Vivian's journey, marked by regret and painful self-discovery, became a cautionary tale of the cost of chasing illusions. And for Serena, caught between two worlds, the experience fostered an understanding that life is as much about overcoming adversity as it is about celebrating the moments of joy that follow. In the end, the Pierce family learned that no matter how deeply trust is fractured, the possibility of redemption and renewal always exists. The echoes of their past, both bitter and beautiful, would forever shape who they became, guiding them toward a future where every ending held the promise of a new beginning. Dear listeners, thank you for joining me on this journey through the trials of shattered vows and the resilience of the human heart. Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story moved you, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of transformation and hope.